So this is what you've been doing all week. Anything else you've been doing or not doing when it comes to IRB dissertation?
Anything I've been doing or not doing? No. I started doing modules. I go to sleep. I did finish the informed consent. I said that. And then when I go to do the literature review revisions, I get into, oh, let me look up this other article. I literally have 57 articles in a folder right now for what I'm trying to do. So yeah, I'm just a little all over the place.
When you think of when you think about your IRB application and you feel tired, what do you think? What if you had to put it into one sentence? What one sentence do you think is like, blah blah blah? Now I feel tired. Is it that it's too much? Is it that you don't know what to do? Is it boring? Is it that?
I'm gonna give it to you, right? It's overwhelming, right? And therefore, and I noticed that I don't even do this with just IRB. Even the stuff at work that's a lot,
Mm-hmm.
I shut down, right? I'll
Mm-hmm.
make a list of it. Like when I start to break it down, when I start to do something with it, it helps me, but it takes me a while to get started on it because I'm like, this is too much. I don't want it.
I should have kept it the way because now my handwriting works. So we went over the model before? Yeah, we did in training.
Yeah. Circumstance, thought, feeling, action.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is how this works. So can you see this? Okay, yes. So your
Mhm.
circumstance is that you need to submit the IRB application by, what was the date? It's coming up, right?
January 9th.
Today.
That's dead. But
Okay.
they meet on the 25th though.
Oh, okay. So you need to, let me just change that then. Let's not. So you need to submit IRB by the 25th. Your thought that's happening that you're not as conscious of, and I'll tell you why and why that's so. This is too much. There's some version of this is too much. So when your brain is like, this is too much, now you're tired, which is more overwhelmed, but tired is how we express it. When you're tired and overwhelmed, what you do is you start off strong, right? You're like, I'm gonna do this plan. I'm gonna break it up. She said do it like this. They're saying to do it like this, right? I'm gonna try to do this 2 modules a day. That shit's boring. Maybe I switch over to literature review.
Yes.
Don't want to do the edits. Maybe I can look up stuff, right? You look up things. Now the tank is getting real full. And so you're like, well, maybe I can do this up here. You finish the informed consent, but these other edits, right? It's like, or these other parts, like, oh no. So then you're like, maybe I need to go listen to podcasts or videos to get the hacks. Now I'm just completely overwhelmed. I'm going to sleep. I shut down. That's your shutdown. And what that's creating for you by doing that is you're creating an environment where a lot is happening, where you have to do a lot because you went from weekly plan to the modules, to the literature review edits, to the literature review articles, to the podcast, to the hacks. Now I'm going to sleep. Now I'm shutting down. Oh, and I still got that whole list of things to do. So when that is repeating over and over, it's just like one loop. Shut down, you create this environment, going back, oh, I still need to submit this by the 25th. Now it's too much. I'm overwhelmed. I do the thing. You just do this, right? Because
Over and over.
your brain, I wish I had a different color marker. Your brain thinks if you can figure out what the actions are, the right actions in the right order, you'll hit this. You'll get the IRB in by the 25th. It does not matter what you do if your primary thought is this is too much. The reason why, now, I don't know in terms of where you are on the neurodivergence spectrum. I will tell you this is what happens. And I will tell you are on that spectrum. I have a theory, a working theory. Now, nobody's professional, but my working theory is that especially folks of color and especially Black women, if we're making it all the way to a doctoral program, there's high level of intelligence and there is high levels of neurodivergence. The reason why we don't know is culturally, Black people are like, ain't nothing wrong with you, girl. You better get over there and do that.
So hold on, what's neurodivergence? Tell me that.
Neurodivergent, so is, I'm trying not to use these terms. In simple terms, it's like people fully expect because you are smart, that it's easy for you to execute tasks. This is an example of neurotypical. So people say neurotypical people are people who haven't been diagnosed with any learning disabilities, any
Mhm.
neurological diagnoses, anything about how the brain functions,
Mhm.
it's saying that you have normal brain functioning if you're neurotypical. It's
Okay.
just language to say like instead of saying you're disabled, a more human-centered word would be you're neurodivergent.
Okay.
Your brain does not function in the way that scholars or experts would say is the typical function of a brain.
Well, I have ADHD, so that works.
Okay, so perfect. You have that diagnosis. So one of the things with
Yeah.
ADHD is, right, it's an executive functioning disorder.
Mhm.
And like, because me too, like, so what will happen is, consciously, I have to do IRB. Your ADHD brain is like, this literature review, though, we can't
Yes.
do IRB until we do the literature review. And so it won't entertain anything else until the literature review is completed. Because we have trouble with executive functioning, we also have trouble with knowing sequencing, what order things need to go in. It's not that you can't do it, it's just that your brain doesn't always put it in the right order. So that's why it will focus on a literature review more than the IRB, because it's like, no, I had that. I had that. It's kind of like you have an appointment at 8 p.m. to get your furnace looked at, and you
Mhm.
can't do anything else for the rest of the day until that person comes at 8 p.m. to look at the furnace, because your brain has attached to I know I'm gonna forget, and that's really important because we'll have a furnace, we don't got no heat. And so I gotta focus on the
I
8
do it.
p.m.
I hyper focus a lot on stuff, right?
So then everything else is like, because I know my brain can only hold so much. And so then you
Yeah.
don't do anything, but then it's internalized because of our culture. Is
Mhm.
like, well, you should be able to do multiple things, Tiffany. Like, you're about to be a
Right.
whole doctor. Like, you do this fancy thing at school. Why can't you? And it's like, because my brain does not work that way.
Right. Yeah.
So the reason why I set up the weekly planning system the way I do is
Mhm.
because what I'm doing is holding space for people who are neurodivergent without telling them they're neurodivergent. And mostly it's ADHD. I'm helping
Okay.
you with ADHD without telling you that's what I'm doing. Because I don't want
Okay.
you to get caught up in words. I just want you to get caught up in the system.
Gotcha.
What's happening is you recognize time is moving. May will be here before I know it.
Yes.
And I was supposed to get this done on a ninth. That's
Right.
creating pressure. That's what's creating the overwhelm. It's the
Okay.
pressure of your brain has already calculated, I need to do all these things, and that's not enough time to do it. So since it's not enough time, why would we do any of it? There's no point. That's what's happening. That's it. Nothing's wrong with
Mm.
you. Nothing. It's just your brain has figured, like, why would I do that? There's no way for me to meet that goal. That's how ADHD works. It's like, I've calculated. An example would be, sometimes I have to ignore the call from my mama
Mhm.
because my brain has calculated we're going to get on this phone. She's going to have 50, 11 questions that I don't have the answers to. And I'm going to get overwhelmed and I'm going to freeze. And I'm not going to, and then she's going to interpret that as I'm not listening or
Right.
not taking it serious. When all that
Right.
happened is she just overwhelmed me with questions, and it's a sensory overload. You have a
Right.
sensory overload. So if
Mm.
you can approach this as a physical problem instead of a time management problem, how would that be different for you? Kind of like you got too cold, like the heat went out at work
Mm.
and it's freezing in the office and they're still expecting you to work as normal. That's what's happening in this RB application. It's 30
Mm.
degrees in the office and they're like, what's the problem? Go put on some extra pair of socks and work.
But only thing I can think about is that I'm cold.
That's what's
Yeah.
happening.
I
That's the way
got you.
to think about it for your brain.
I got you.
You know how to do your job. You know how to help
Right.
students, but it's cold. I'm thinking about who has relationship. He was like, "You are a mess." At one point, he's like, "You
Yeah.
can't find your shoes. I don't. What's happening? How did you just lose the keys that were in your hand?" And I was like, "Welcome to my life. I don't know why you are equating intelligence with
Right.
executive functioning. They're two different
Two
things."
different things.
Yeah.
Two different things. Yeah.
That's true, and that's especially true when it comes to your dissertation, because what you need to think about, and I don't know if you know your IQ score or not. What you need to think about is K through 12. I would even argue most of undergrad,
Mhm.
because you're so intelligent, you could compensate, right? Like it's kind of like you're in class, maybe you have spaced out. Somebody calls your name, it's like, Tiffany, what's the answer? You come
And I
to
know it.
like, oh shit, here's the answer. But you
Mhm.
don't realize that it wasn't because you were paying attention, it's because your intelligence allowed you to put patterns together and do enough deductive reasoning to be like, this is the answer. And that happens in a split second for you, where most people have to be so focused and pay attention to every word. Your intelligence allows you to override that. It's coming at a great cost. It's coming at I erased it. It's creating like low grade tiredness and overwhelm, but you don't notice it because you're like, oh, I got the right answer. I had something to say. I didn't look bad. But you didn't have to develop study skills or learning skills in the same way other classmates would have had to do in
Mhm.
like high school or whatnot, when it got challenging for them, because it wasn't challenging for you. It didn't get challenging until probably master's doctoral process.
Absolutely.
And now you have to start at you're starting at what most people would have done in like ninth or 10th grade. You're now doing that. You're trying to play catch up in a doctoral process, where people are like, what do you mean? You should know this already. And it's like, I never had to, because my intelligence allowed me to get this far. And so then we then internalize that to say something must be wrong with me, because why is it so easy for everyone else? It's not that way for me. When all this happened, they had more practice, and we were not in an environment that was stimulating enough. So we never had to learn those skills. That's the only thing that's happening.
Yeah, that's
So
an excellent point.
yes, yeah, it's just learning how, in this context, how do I take one thing at a time and focus on that, which can be hard when you are in a system where it's not that much structure. They just like, okay, bye. The only thing I'm trying to show you in
Mm,
planning is how to take that same approach in a dissertation, because it's a new environment and skill.
okay.
So it's not that I'm like, I want nobody to work. I just want you to learn, like, help your brain in this context, focus on one thing at a time in a way that is manageable. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So you trying to write every day is working against your ADHD,
Okay.
because what will happen, and you'll know more your pattern, but there's a point, there's a routine or a pattern of, at some point a day is going to come and you're going to have the ADHD paralysis where you can't do anything. Your brain will
Mhm.
be running a list, but you won't physically be able to move. You won't be able to go do the thing. And you have to
Yeah,
allow
that happens.
for that in your writing throughout the week.
Oh,
You have to allow the space. Otherwise, it'll happen quicker and quicker. Your symptoms will get worse if you don't allow for the space and not do anything.
so it's going to end up looking like what I'm doing now, but just more focused. So I probably end up writing 4 days a week, but it's like, all right, every other day. So I'm writing on Monday, Tuesday, I'm not. I'm
Mhm.
writing on Wednesday, Thursday, I am not. Okay, I got you.
Because for me, what it feels, I feel it every morning. I wake up and I'm like, get out the bed. How do I do that? I don't know how to do that. Don't let me
This is
have a
my
calendar. Don't let me have a calendar full of things. I'm like, who did that? Why would I do
yes,
that? I can't do
yes,
it. Mm-mm. It's okay, friend. Just know, if y'all having little people, welcome. Multiple of us are in the house. You will get it. Like, I legit have to be like, guess what? You're gonna get out of bed. You're gonna put your feet in comfy slippers. You're gonna put on your robe. You like your robe, and then you
yeah,
go to the bathroom. It's gonna be a little bit cold, but then you can put the right. I had to go through. And you put the toothpaste. Take the cap
yeah,
off. Put it on the toothpaste. Like, yes, you have to.
yeah,
Otherwise, yeah, your brain can't figure out what to do, because it,
right.
right, the logical part of our brains is in the front, but it has to go all the way to the back for you to
Hmm.
actually do the movement required to execute what you're thinking in the front of your brain. And ADHD means the front doesn't always connect to the back. So you could be running your list, but doesn't mean like your brain's gonna tell you go do the thing. So having the packed, like, I have to do this, the overwhelm of the deadline just made for a storm of, this IRB application wasn't going to get done. And it's not
Hmm.
because you was not trying. It was just the environment wasn't helpful for your brain. It was too cold in the office. When you're walking around with ADHD, you're not always aware of how you feel. You're kind of like blind to it almost.
Hmm.
And because you don't know it until it's such a problem that is impacting your everyday life, like the depression with the thing
Hmm.
that probably was building up for months, but you didn't know it until what was smacking your face was like, you're losing your scholarship now. But you probably
Yeah.
was feeling like the symptoms were like, but you didn't know, because that's not how the brain works. And so the more we can start to learn, so what I have to do is I have to look for behaviors that I do, and then I have
Hmm.
to say, oh, when I do that, that means I feel this way. Because I don't, most of the time, don't feel. I just have to know, like, oh, when you do these things, like a random example would be to know that I'm hungry. I will, like last night, I was like, why do I keep watching these food videos? I'm like, oh, I think you're hungry. I can't
Mhm.
rely on my stomach growling or like what everybody else does. That's not how my brain works. I just know, like, oh, I keep picturing brownies and I keep wanting to watch food videos randomly. You're
So I'm
hungry.
hungry.
Go eat. I want you to find at least 1 hour every week that you either watch him because it's on YouTube or a cooking show. Now you might be like, that's strange. It's going to help you because the reason why your brain is going towards food is because it doesn't have another thing. It doesn't know what else to do to feel safe.
Mm.
Um,
Well, I picked 9. That was the worst age of my childhood, though.
I know it usually is, but you'll be
Okay.
it sounds strange,
Mhm.
but because it was the worst age of your childhood, you would have had to find some way to cope. Your
Mm.
9-year-old brain had to find something that was like, that's the bright light in my day. Mine was Disney Channel and
Okay.
Nickelodeon.
Oh, your family had money. Go ahead, girl.
No,
Cable.
that's they had money, but that was the only thing. We had no food, but I had cable. Even to this day, my mom was like, she's like, "Where your cable at?" I'm like, "Girl, no, no, I got
Mm.
YouTube." She's like, "No, you
Right.
need cable." And even if she's like, "I got cable before I got this, a stove."
No, mom.
Got cable. I care about
No. Yeah.
eating now, which is why yeah. And I spent a lot of time alone. So my coping thing was Disney during the day, Nickelodeon at night, Snick at night,
Got you.
or Saturday or whatever that was. But you want to do that because it's going to trigger for your brain, like, oh, it's okay to do that. Because right now, grown up Tiffany is like, we don't got time for that. We got stuff to do.
Right.
Wow, 9-year-old Tiffany is like, I will continue to throw a fit over here if you don't give me what I want. That's all right. I'll just make
Mhm.
you eat all day. We'll just eat all day. I'm gonna
Yeah.
get comfort some way because that part of your brain, whenever you're like, I gotta go get something, is looking for relief. And if I
Yes.
only know food as relief, that's the only thing I'm gonna tell you to go do. But if you give me another option, like go listen to a Tribe Called Quest, maybe you can. I don't even know if you can order a King doll. I'm pretty sure they probably cost thousands of dollars now.
Yeah, by
But,
now.
or go watch a cooking show. Your grown-up brain will be like, this is dumb. We shouldn't be here. Childhood you is going to be like, I can't hear you. I'm sitting here in front of this TV. I don't care what you say. Be prepared for that. But the more you allow yourself to do it and the more you plan for it, the more that you will notice that the overwhelm throughout the rest of your week will go down.
And
Disney,
I gotta put this on a timer.
yeah.
Can I do that?
Yeah, I usually just leave it for like a Friday night or a Saturday night, somewhere I know I'm like, if I stay up, it won't be too bad. But I'm most likely gonna go to sleep. But I just need to know that I have the option of staying up. It sounds strange, I promise you. And if you want a bonus thing, if you happen to be up in the middle of the night or you can't write or something, have you ever watched Inside Out, cartoon movies about feelings?
Oh no. No.
If you have Disney Plus, you can find it on there.
Okay.
It's a Pixar movie, if I'm yes, Pixar, but Disney owns them. But it's about this little girl who her family is moving across the country or a different state or something. And it's about her that transition from 9 to 10, where we stop being innocent like kids and we're starting to transition into adolescence. And it tells you how your memory, how your emotions transition to. I find it helpful for me to recognize what emotions, the difference of our primary emotions, what that looks like in real life.
Mm.
And it's kind of cute,
Okay.
but it helps you. And usually when I give this assignment a lot to people to go watch it, it'll help you put into everyday like language, like, oh, I feel sad most of the time. Or I
Mhm.
feel disgust and I didn't have language for it. I'm trying to help you overall with your overwhelm and your stress. The more you have language for what you're experiencing, the less of the intensity will be. And less intense it will be, the more that you'll be able to do the things. You'll have the energy to do the things like IRB and literature review. Mhm.
Look at that.
So I gave
Who
you
knew?
that was a lot. Okay, what's going on in your mind? And it's fine. And that's what I mean. So, like, for other people who don't have to navigate their brain in this way, they're just like, yeah, you should be able to just do it. And that's the voices, that's what you're hearing when you get home. But I should just be able to do it. It's not like it's that big of a deal. All I'm saying is read some words on the screen and take a test. Why is this taking me so long? And because your energy is going into shitting on yourself because that's what you've been taught to do. It's not your voice, it's other people whose brains are not like it, or they have just talked to themselves this way now and they're used to it. Because I argue more Black people have this and they know. But
Mhm,
because that's what you've been. Let me back up. Think about when you're a little kid. I'm making some assumptions about your family. So if this ain't the dynamic, don't
mhm,
mind me. How my mama got me to do something was to yell at me.
mhm,
And like if I wasn't doing it, she would yell. And then she
mhm.
would keep yelling and threatening, which then for little brains is like, oh shit, I'm gonna die.
Absolutely.
I gotta go do the thing. I'm only
Right,
doing the thing I'm afraid, not because I want to.
right.
But when your brain is trained that way, when you get older, you try to do, yell at yourself to get you
Mhm,
to do things. But now you're grown, and there's a part of you that knows I still don't got to do shit. I'm not doing it.
right.
Here is not going to work. You have to and that's why I'm doing this more inner child work of like the more you can give her what she needs, you will learn you don't have to yell at 9-year-old Tiffany to get her to do something. That worked for you when you were 9 because you had to survive, whatever you were surviving. She had to
Mhm,
cope and survive. Now she has to learn you don't have to cope and survive, that we don't have to be scared to do the thing, that there's other ways, there's other emotions we can tap into that gets us to do the thing we need to do. But you can't rationalize with a 9-year-old. Like you can't rationalize that part of your brain. It doesn't speak in like X equals it. Why? It doesn't, it needs emotions. So it needs a TV or it needs a cooking show or it needs a good taste of a food or that unlocks a
mhm.
memory to get you to do the thing you want to do.